Most people watching a whale wallet just see the trades, a buy here, a sell there, a number going up. What they don't see is the structure behind it, the actual playbook this wallet is running. Today, we're pulling that playbook out into the open. We're going to take one profitable wallet's entire trade history, hand it to Claude, and have it reverse engineer exactly how this thing operates. And we're building it so it doesn't care what chain that wallet lives on. Solana, Ethereum, Base, Bitcoin, whatever. Not vibes, not "this wallet is bullish." The real mechanics. Entry timing, position sizing, what it holds, and what it dumps fast. By the end of this, you'll have a pipeline you can point at any wallet address on any chain you want. And I want to be clear about what this actually is before we start, because it's easy to mistake for something it's not. This isn't about finding a magic indicator hidden in someone else's trades. It's about speed and structure, pulling data faster than you could read it manually, and forcing it through a process disciplined enough that what comes out the other end is actually trustworthy. That's the whole edge here. Not a secret, a process. Let's get into it. Step 1 is finding the wallet, and honestly, it doesn't matter where it comes from. Axiom's leaderboard will hand you Solana wallets with real PNL and win rate attached. Something like Axiom or a Chain Explorer does the same job for Ethereum and other EVM chains. Someone drops an address in the Discord, that works too. The only two things you actually need out of this step are the wallet address itself and which chain it lives on. Look for a wallet with consistent volume over months, not one lucky trade. A wallet that spiked once and went quiet isn't a playbook, it's a coin flip that landed right. Copy the address, note the chain. That's the only manual, judgment-based step in this whole build. Everything after this is repeatable on any wallet, on any chain. Step 2 is setting up the project. Open your terminal and create a fresh folder for this build. Inside it, you're setting up a small Python environment. Nothing heavy, just enough to make a couple of web requests and organize some data. 3 pieces come out of this folder by the end. A script that pulls the trade history, a data file that stores it, and a prompt file that we hand to Claude. That's the entire structure. No unnecessary moving parts. This is worth slowing down on for a second because it's the difference between a build that works once and a build you can actually reuse. If your project folder is a mess of one-off files, every new wallet you want to check means rebuilding half the pipeline from scratch. If it's 3 clean pieces with one job each, checking a new wallet next week, even on a completely different chain, is a 30-second job. Boring setup now saves you the rebuild later. Step 3 is where we actually go get the data, and this is the part that makes the whole build chain agnostic. Instead of wiring up a different data source for every single chain, we're using one API that already speaks every chain's language. You give it the wallet address and which chain it's on, and it comes back with the same shape of data whether that wallet trades on Solana, Ethereum, Base, or anywhere else. On screen, you'll see a short script running that syncs the wallet's history and pulls it down, every trade, transfer, and swap, into a local file. Run it once, and you've got the wallet's complete history sitting on your machine, no matter what chain it's actually on. This is the raw material. At this point, it's just numbers. No interpretation yet, no story. That comes later, and it's important we don't skip ahead to it. Step 4 is cleaning that data up. Raw data straight from an API is messy. Mixed transaction types. Some noise from transfers that aren't actually trades. Formatting that differs slightly depending on which chain a given entry came from. So the next script filters that down to actual trades and turns it into a clean, time-stamped table, sorted in the order the trades actually happened, with the chain each one occurred on clearly labeled. This step feels small, but it matters more than people think. If you hand Claude a mess, you get a messy analysis back. If you hand it something structured, you get something you can actually trust. Step 5 is the part everyone's been waiting for. Handing this whole thing over to Claude and asking it to find the pattern. Here's exactly what we're asking for. We want to know the entry timing. Does this wallet get in early before a token or market has real volume, or does it wait and confirm before committing size? We want the position sizing. Is this wallet betting the same amount every time, or does size scale with how confident it seems to be? And if so, is there an actual formula behind that scaling? We want the holding behavior. How long does a position sit before it gets closed, and does that change depending on what it's holding? We want concentration. Is this wallet spread across many chains and protocols, or does it live in one or two, and is that concentration growing over time? And we want exit behavior. Does it get out all at once, or scale out gradually, and does that differ between the trades that worked and the ones that didn't? Claude Code can read straight through the entire trade history file. You're not spoon-feeding it row by row. It works through the whole thing and comes back with a structured breakdown organized around those 5 questions. What you get out of this step is not a guess. It's a description grounded directly in the data of how this specific wallet actually behaves, chain and all. Notice what we didn't ask for. We didn't ask, will this wallet win its next trade? We didn't ask for a prediction at all. We asked for a description of behavior that already happened because that's the only thing the data can actually answer honestly. The moment you ask an AI model to predict the future off a spreadsheet, you've left research and walked into wishful thinking. Everything about how this prompt is worded is built to keep you on the right side of that line. Now here's step 6, and this is the part almost nobody does. And it's the one that actually separates a real pattern from a coincidence that happened to look like one. A finding that only shows up when you look at the whole history at once isn't necessarily structural. It might just be noise that happened to line up. So before we trust anything from step 5, we stress test it. We take that same trade history, split it cleanly into 2 time windows, an earlier half and a later half, and check whether each finding from the playbook holds up independently in both. If the sizing pattern shows up in both halves, that's real. If it only shows up in one, that's not a playbook, that's a fluke wearing a playbook's clothes. Claude rewrites the analysis with this in mind. Every finding gets labeled based on whether it held consistently across both time windows, held partially, or didn't hold up at all outside the original sample. This is the step that turns a flashy one-shot analysis into something closer to real research. It's slower, it's less exciting to watch, but it's the difference between a video that shows you a cool trick and a pipeline that actually tells you the truth. So step 7, what do you actually walk away with here? You don't walk away with a signal to copy. You walk away with a filtered, stress-tested description of how one wallet operates. Filtered specifically because you just stripped out anything that didn't survive the second test. That was the whole point of doing this the hard way instead of the fast way. This was never about finding a trade to mirror blindly. It's about understanding, from real data, instead of a leaderboard screenshot, what discipline, sizing, and entry timing genuinely look like when you can actually see them. If you want to take this further, the natural next move is pointing this same pipeline at 2 or 3 more wallets. And here's where the chain-agnostic part really pays off. What we build today is a research tool, not a crystal ball, and that distinction matters more than anything else in this video. It's also worth saying why we built it this way, instead of the faster way. The fast version of this video ends at step 5. Pull the data, ask Claude for a pattern, post the result, done. That version gets clicks just as easily, but it also hands you a pattern with no idea whether it's real, and that's exactly how people talk themselves into copying a wallet that just got lucky twice in a row. The stress test in step 6 is the only thing standing between this looks like a pattern and this is a pattern. Skipping it doesn't make the build faster in any way that matters. It just makes it wrong with more confidence. That's the build. A wallet address in from any chain, a stress-tested playbook out, and a pipeline you can now run on literally any wallet you're curious about, regardless of where it trades. If you build this and find something interesting running it on a wallet from a different chain than the one we used here, that's exactly the kind of thing worth bringing into the Discord. That's where this stuff actually gets interesting, comparing notes across wallets and chains instead of staring at just one.